Their violent shouting and neighing of horses resonates throughout the forest. Having lost her trusty weapon and unable to move from her injuries, she saw no means to prevent her capture. Right as she was about to accept her fate, a deity descended. In the valiant forest of the border region of the Rommel's kingdom, a girl named Lolita was collecting mushrooms when she heard some people arguing. When she turned to them, she saw 3 little girls, Lana, Laro, and Lara, fighting with each other. Lolita approached them and told Lara and Lana to stop fighting and asked them to hurry up and start collecting mushrooms before nightfall. 2 other girls named Altina and Lilitina called Lolita and told her that there were barely any edible mushrooms and there were no animals in the pitfalls either. Lolita told them that it's not looking good and there were even less fruits than she thought. They haven't had a filling meal for a month now, and she thought to herself that if they could at least hunt properly. The little girls started crying and told her that they were hungry. Lolita apologized to the little ones and told them that the guardian spirits of the forest would watch over them, and next time, she's sure that they would have a successful hunt. And if they stay longer, they won't make it before sundown, and it's a shame, but they should head back. As they all were walking, they heard loud noises of horses and got really scared. Lolita told Lily and Al to take the little ones and run. They both told her that they couldn't just run away like that and not while leaving her behind alone, and Lolita smiled and told them that she's going to be fine. She told them that after she lost the humans, she would meet up at the side of the creek they found yesterday. She hid behind the bushes. She looked at them and realized that those were knights from Rommel's. They're pursuing them even into those remote places. They, werewolves, lost the war against the humans of Rommel's. The humans, faking their intent to negotiate peace, poisoned their elders, and her father, the chieftain who remained determined and sought to fight a deciding battle, was no longer with them either. By submitting, the remaining werewolves apparently avoided extinction, but as daughters of the chieftain, that was something they couldn't quite accept. Amidst the confusion of war, they left their den and set out far, far west. Finally, they reached the forest where their ancestors once supposedly dwelt. Commander asked one of the knights if they could trust this information about demi-human remnants. The knight replied affirmatively and told him that the village hunters would claim that they caught glimpses of similar-looking creatures. The commander told him that after venturing out to these hinterlands, if they go back empty-handed, but suddenly got attacked by Lolita, who cut off his head from his body. She decided to ambush, even if it cost her her life. She must protect her little sisters. She prayed for the blessing so that she could fight these devils from her father, mother, gods, and spirits of the forest. All the other knights got alert, and one of them ambushed her with his sword. As both of their swords met, he asked her if she could afford to be looking sideways. One of the guards appeared behind her and asked the other guard what he was doing, and if he had still not caught her. He laughed at him and told him that the first catch would be his at this rate. The knight told all of them to shut up and ordered them to stop staring and help out a just tiny bit. As both of their swords again clashed, he told her that he broke a sweat when she cut down the commander, but that sheepy sportsmanship ain't enough to cut him down, and he kicked her in the abdomen. Her sword fell on the ground, and she couldn't feel her legs. The knight pointed his sword at her and asked if that was all, and she shouted at him to stay away and took out a little knife. The knight gave her a horrifying look and told her that he loved those raven hair and those dark eyes. She closed her eyes and started praying to the gods, and the knight told her not to worry, as from now on he was her new god. Suddenly, all the knights heard a loud noise and turned around. A certain man opened his eyes and thought to himself that he was climbing a mountain, and he screwed up and slipped down. He wondered where the heck he was, as there was no snow. He was supposed to be in Okuho in an extremely cold season. As he looked at his palms, he was really surprised and started shouting. He realized that he was a bear and started wondering what was going on. He looked inside the pond and realized that he turned into a polar bear. His stomach started growling, and he decided to do this. He thought to himself that if he had a climbing accident and fell down the valley, it's unlikely that he could be saved, in which case he decided to try living like a good bear does. He tried to catch fish from the river using his palms, but he was unable to. He thought to himself that like this, he was just announcing to the whole world that he had no talent as a bear. He grabbed a boulder and threw it in the river. A lot of fishes started floating on the river, and he stated that he did it. He exclaimed to behold the tremendous effects of his shockwave. He gave up on acting like a bear pretty early, and he decided that he should nourish his body. He thought to himself that catching them is one thing, but wondered how he's supposed to eat them. He was worried about the parasites in river fish, and he didn't have any lighter, no matches, so he couldn't cook them. Still, he was kind of averse to eating them raw. He turned sideways and realized that he could sense something moving in the distance, and there was this familiar smell. He was shocked to see that there were humans, but realized that they were acting strange, as a girl and some men were fighting. He decided to hold on for a minute and thought to himself that according to what he overheard, that lovely poor girl is part of a minority called werewolf, and the vulgar-looking guys were from the army sent by whoever rules this land. To be honest, this is the first time he saw humans fighting to the death, and no matter how he looked at it, those men looked like the bad guys. It's a lot versus when there was no problem if he joined in to assist, and he attacked them while roaring. Everyone was shocked to see him and called him a white fiend or a monster. He prayed that they should just leave the girl behind and run away. As the soldiers were running away, one of the knights shouted at them and asked what they were afraid of, as it was just a bear. They decided to take the bear down and started ambushing him with their spears. The bear thought to himself that if they stab him with that thing, he was a goner after one hit. He closed his eyes and charged towards them and thought to himself that if he just charged forward, it should work out somehow. It's gotten quieter, and as he opened his eyes, the werewolf girl called him a guardian spirit of the forest and fell in his arms. He stated that she doesn't seem injured, but as he looked around, he was shocked to see the carnage as all the knights were lying on the ground. He thought to himself that he just went with the flu and kept tackling people, and this scene makes him look like a peerless warrior. He didn't really feel like a victor, though. It was more like smashing some insects, and he couldn't bear this feeling. He wondered if his soul was starting to follow his body, becoming that of a bear. He looked at her and realized that there was something strange on her head and wondered if those were ears. He thought to himself that a 28-year-old guy fiddling with a little girl pretty much was a sexual assault and decided that they should go somewhere else first. He helped the girl lie on some bushes and thought to himself that even if army reinforcements come, they shouldn't find her there anytime soon, and decided to say goodbye to her. Although he didn't gain much information this time, it's still lucky that he managed to grab some useful items from the guys he defeated. After eating some preserved food like dried meat and biscuits, he made a fire and cooked the river fish, and as he ate them, he exclaimed that they were delicious. He thought to himself that he should try hunting next. As he was walking to him, it looked like he could somehow manage his new life in the forest. As he started having similar bright thoughts, he saw a brown bear. He didn't think he would be able to make friends with the first fellow bear he had met. The story proceeds forward as the polar bear was shocked to see the brown bear and exclaimed that this guy was a real bear. The brown bear tried to attack the polar bear, but he avoided it, and the brown bear became wary of him. The polar bear felt like he lost to such a light push. As the brown bear tried to attack him again, he punched the brown bear with his right hand and slashed his eyes with the claw of his left hand. The brown bear ran away, and the polar bear thought that he wanted to meet someone, but that's not happening. This all happened because he bumped heads with him by chance and all, but this was probably his turf and stuff. He decided that he won't go near this place ever again. He started walking again as he wanted to see some mountains now and wondered if it was because of that unexpected battle. He found a really nice place and sat down on a log of wood to feel the wind. The werewolf girl asked him if he was a god. As the polar bear turned around, he saw 6 werewolf girls, and they all started bowing to him. One of the girls stated that he saved their lives yesterday, and they never thanked him. This crime deserves certain death, and if it's all right, she would offer him her body. So she requested him to protect her little sisters using his powers as a guardian deity. The polar bear asked her if she was misunderstanding something and told her that he was just a happy polar bear and not this great guardian polar bear she was talking about. She asked him if he was not a god. She told him that this came late, but introduced herself as Lulafina the werewolf. The polar bear replied that he had got the lame name of Kumakichi. The werewolf girl replied that it is a wonderful name for someone like him. If he told her that, it would help if she talked about her situation, as he doesn't know what's happening on her end at all. Lulafina told him that she, the unworthy, would answer with all her body and soul. He told them that he would ask just the general questions. After some time of talking, he understood that only her and her sisters made it through the forest, and she replied that her sisters and she were prepared to die yesterday, and if they were about to be harmed by those traded humans, they would have bitten off their tongues first. But he suppressed those evil bastards and bit them. They really felt a bit of relief, and their ancestral spirits were surely relieved as well. Lulafina told her younger sisters to thank Kumakichi. They all thanked him, and he replied that he appreciated the thanks, so they should lift their heads up. He couldn't help but feel very awkward now. One of the little girls asked the polar bear if she could woof him, and Lulafina asserted that how could she be so rude to Kumakichi. He replied affirmatively, and the little girl jumped on him. Lana and Lola also jumped on him. Lulufina shouted at them that they were bothering Kumakichi and they should get down. Kumakichi started wondering if they liked it, and one of the other girls stated that they're too giddy. Suddenly it started raining, and Lulufina asked the polar bear if he wanted to stay in as their hideout was really close by. They all went to their hideout, and Lulufina apologized to Kumakichi as there was nothing they could give him, and he replied that there was no problem as he just wanted to see it. The polar bear started wondering if they made this natural kava hideout. It's damp, dark, cramped, and the air is bad. One of the little girls was managing sticks on the floor, and the polar bear asked her if she always sleeps there. She replied affirmatively, and he further asked if she sleeps well. One of the girls told Lulufina that she was signaling her to not bring him over, and she replied to just tell her next time. The polar bear sat on one corner of the cave and told the little girls to come to him as they started sneezing and feeling cold. As the little girls cuddled with the polar bear, he told Lulufina that they should quickly move to a better place. He stated that they would be fine if they had fur like him, but they couldn't endure the cold. Lulufina muttered that she really wanted to do that too. Everyone was shocked to hear that, and she started asserting that it wasn't her. All the other girls started feeling hungry, and Lulufina apologized to the polar bear that they haven't gotten much food as of late, and everyone's hungry now. He stood up and started going outside the cave, and Lulufina asked him where he was going. He replied that first was their food problem and then the house. He started chasing a wild boar and killed it with one punch. All the werewolf girls were excited to see that and exclaimed that Kumakichi did it. As they saw the boar lying on the ground, the little girls started trying to eat it raw. Lulufina stated that those girls are still young in mind. He started wondering if 300 kilos was going a little too far, and maybe it was better to disassemble it here and bring it over. He thought to himself that he is not a polar bear who could carry this junk, and the other werewolf girls picked it up and started walking. He was shocked to see that as Lulufina called him and told him that they should bring this back quickly. He forgot that this was a fantasy world. He had set animal carcasses alight before. One should use hot water and pluck out the hairs. There are ways to peel the skin off, like when skinning a deer, and then burn all the hairs off. He asked Lulufina for a knife, and she gave it to him. Then he scraped off the hair because it's easier to peel, and after the scraping, he took the inwards out. As the little girls jumped on him and started asserting that they were hungry, he asked them to wait. Finally, he cleaned out the bones and the body was completely prepared. He cooked them on a flat stone, and as the werewolf girls ate it, they exclaimed that it was really good. He thought to himself that if the board made them this happy, maybe he could pass on, and it should be cooked enough. He thought that maybe he should have a taste, and as he took a bite he exclaimed that it was very good. After eating their fill, they all went inside the cave to sleep. He thought that the cold must be harmful to them. Lulufina called his name and asked if he was still awake. He replied affirmatively, and she told him that she had a request. She asked him to teach her how to get beasts and stated that asking him to do this after he did so much, it was very rude of her and all, and she knew that, but even so. The polar bear smoked and told her that in his world they had an expression which says rubbing shoulders goes into reincarnation, which means that a small encounter like rubbing shoulders by chance should be treated well because it could have deep meaning in their former world. When he told her that he is a polar bear beginner, but he got some old bear wisdom and he would help her with whatever she wants. She asked him how old he was and then suddenly apologized as she asked something rude again. He told her not to worry about that and replied that he was 28. He told her that he is her brother who's much older than her and he is already an old bear. She asserted that 28 is still young. She caught his hand and told him that his fur is so gentle and beautiful like the silver. He started wondering if she was praising him. He didn't really know, but she praised him and it would be polite to make her happy. He replied that her bushy tail is also very nice, and he thought it's cute. He thought that maybe this is good as a perfect praise to thank her. She asked him if he was serious, and he thought to himself at times like this, she looks like a beautiful girl. She asked him if he was part of the elm species. He asked what they were, and she replied that they were a demi-human species that look like bears. They speak human and walk on 2 legs, and depending on the region, they even seem to participate in administrations as demi-humans. He asked if there was any way to tell them apart as they looked like animal bears. Replied that there was as the species they called beast folk have were really easy differences. That's why he stated that she wasn't very surprised when he talked, and she replied that his fur is pure white, just like the legend. She told him that in the variant forest there is only a legend their species knows about. When the wolf cubs chase us to the land of the dead, the white guardian would descend from the heavens and destroy all evil. He would create the foundations of peace and security in the forest for 1,000 years. That's why when she first came across him, she thought God appeared before them after fitting them. He replied that he didn't look like a god, he just did what he could. Lulufina started laughing, and he asked her what was with the weird laugh. He closed his eyes and told her that tomorrow is early and good girls and bad girls should get to bed. She replied that she is not a kid anymore, and he told her that the night goes on. He told her to come to the floor as staying up late won't be good for her beauty, and she replied affirmatively. The story proceeds forward as Lulufina was showing the way to the polar bear. She told him that if she remembered correctly, they should be able to see it soon. She pointed forward and told him that those are the abandoned ruins which were once used by the dwarfs. He commented that even though it seems abandoned, it doesn't look like it's too old. Lavina told the polar bear to be careful. He told her that he could smell people from that house and they are oozing out a very bad feeling. Well, they have been hated and oppressed by humans, and it's not like he couldn't understand their feelings. There is a reason to why they had come this close to a human village with these two, and that's because there was something he wanted, no matter what. A few days before, the little werewolf girls were fighting and exclaimed that they wanted it to be roasted. Lulufina told them that if they kept acting so selfishly, she won't give them any of the meat that the polar bear has gotten for them. The polar bear thought to himself that if they roast it, it would become hard, so it's better to simmer it, though they really must have liked the wild boar steak. Lulufina got really angry at the little girls, and the polar bear thought that she was so scary. He asked them if they would bear it if he roast half and simmer the other half. All the little girls hugged him and exclaimed that they loved him so much. Lulufina told him not to spoil them too much. One of the sisters told the polar bear that she had just finished preparing the fish. Salt had been added correctly, and they had been gutted cleanly. He pierced the fishes with sticks and told them that this way they would get to make dry fish. After eating the fishes, he told them that it's time for him to get going, as if a big guy like him stays there, he would only get in the way, and he would look for another place to sleep. Lulufina asserted that he just being there is enough to encourage them, and there was no way they would think of him like that. The little werewolf girls hugged him and asked if he was going somewhere with tears in their eyes. And so he stays in the cave the following night also. He asked the Lulufina if she knew any carpentry tools around there, and she replied that they ran away with only what they were wearing, so things like those could only be found in human villages. She apologized to him, and he told her that it's not like he was looking for fault there. He told her that he was just thinking that there are a lot of materials here, so if he had the necessary tools he would be able to make a lot of things, and asked her not to let it bother her. While he was looking at her, there was a plan taking from inside of him. There isn't any problem for him to endure the winter, but these girls who are poorly equipped would suffer. So with that said, he decided to give these girls a house as a present. In that case, not to mention living next to them, it would be even possible to establish a relationship of coming to play and stay the night. And it's a win-win situation. To be able to have an intimate relationship with the beautiful, consider a really welcome situation, even if he was a polar bear, and for that to happen he would need to somehow get some carpentry tools. He thought to himself that even if a polar bear goes to ask the humans for some carpenter tools, he would just be a capture target. After thinking for some time, Lilithina told them that on their way there were some abandoned ruins left behind by the dwarfs. Lulufina remembered that near there were things used by humans. The polar bear asked them to tell him in more detail about that. Later on, together with Lulufina and Erutina, they came to the ruins that are about 30 miles to the east of their cave. They came across a house, and the polar bear stated that the building still looks clean. They broke the lock on the gate and entered, and he exclaimed that this looks like a treasure trove. From axes to saws, there is a mountain of carpentry, and even maintenance tools here with replacement parts as well. He started dancing, and as Lulufina saw him, she asked what he was doing. He replied that he was happy he just started dancing, and she got really excited and asked if there were things there that they could use, and if there was even food. He guessed the girls won't be happy with the carpentry tools, and if it was possible, he would love to find a way to satisfy daily necessities in a permanent home. He told them that for now they had taken all the necessary things, so they should head back. They put all the carpentry stuff inside a cart, and he started pulling the cart. He thought to himself that it became something like stealing, but it's for the sake of the sisters and his happiness, so he didn't think bad of him. They smelled something, and Lulufina told the polar bear to be on alert. They saw some humans coming back to their homes, and she got really furious after seeing them. She exclaimed that it's as she thought, as they were following them. She was trying to draw out her blade, but Kumakichi stopped her and asked her not to draw her blade. He hugged both of them and stopped them from ambushing those humans. Their resentment against humans and their anger is being transmitted to him. To be honest, before dying in the mountains, he was just an ordinary Japanese person living in a peaceful world. He couldn't imagine the resentment they must be harboring for the fact that their kin have been eradicated like if it was a normal thing to do. But they didn't know if they were there chasing them. Even if he is accused of being naive, he won't allow them to start killing each other because of irrational reasons. Lulufina called his name and told him that it was all right. She apologized for the trouble they had caused. Kumakichi told them that a smile looks much better on the two of them. There were also dwarfs among them as they were discussing something, and Kumakichi realized that they weren't targeting them. He thought to himself that it would be troublesome if they bumped into each other and wondered if they should give up now, even though they had already gathered up all this treasure. The werewolf girls and Kumakichi were really shocked to see that and started wondering if it was a snake or a monster. It was a really large snake, and it started attacking humans and the dwarves. Kumakichi told the werewolf girls that they should escape quickly before it detects them, and they had to hurry up and leave this place. As he was escaping, he heard someone's voice for help. The monster had already killed a lot of humans, but the rest were trying to run away. A man fell on the ground, and he couldn't run as his hips had already given out. As the snake was trying to attack him, Kumakichi came in between and punched the snake. He shouted that if he hears a scream, it's in his personality since when he was a kid to not be able to just keep watching and do nothing. The humans and dwarves were shocked and exclaimed that the bear was talking. He shouted at them to set up and told them that he is smarter than the average bear, an extraordinary white bear. The man behind him ran away, and he stared in the eyes of the monster. From there on, it was going to be an unrestrained duel between him and the monster, and of course it was a serious one. He got the skin of the snake with his claw and stated that its blood stinks. The snake threw something from his mouth, and he realized that it was snake venom, and moreover it was so strong that it could even melt the ground. He thought to himself that it didn't matter how sturdy the leather of a polar bear is, but this was dangerous. Arutina shouted that an attack like that is unfair and was trying to help him. But Lulufina stopped her and told her that they should believe in him. He thought to himself that he couldn't keep going like this as he would be defeated first in this way. He picked up a spear and attacked the snake with it. He then punched the snake and broke its fangs. He thought that if the fangs got broken then there was nothing to be afraid of, and then he bit his neck with his strong jaw. He killed the monster and started roaring. As he turned around towards the humans and the werewolf girls, the humans stated that he was a god and the legendary guardian deity of the forest has came to save them. They all bowed in front of him, and he started wondering what the situation was. He addressed them as a son of man and told them that the evil demon snake has been surprised by the divine white guardian and that they should not worry anymore. Kumakichi announced to them that he did not wish to have a meaningless fights in the forest, and if there is a castaway person who comes from remote lands, then they must welcome and take them in with compassion. He told them that if they respond to mischief by gathering troops for violence, it would bring down the wrath of the gods. One of the humans who thanked him and told him that they had something that they don't understand, and the other human told him that he was being rude. Kumakichi told the human that he could speak, and he told him that the snake was indeed an incredible monster, but it doesn't seem like it was the Shiro Madara that was attacking the villages around there. And they couldn't go inside the mountains or preparations for the winter were looking bad. They also didn't have enough money to employ an adventurer, and if possible, they would like to ask him to take down the Shiro Madara. They started begging to him, and he replied to leave the Shiro Madara matter to him. As he was leaving, he told them to be gentle to the people who had escaped from difficult situations. Also, he told them that the tools of the cabin which were affected by the snake poison were personally collected by him, so they should be thankful. They all thanked him, and he didn't know what that Shiro whatever thing was, but he managed to act like a dignified god, and he hoped that this would improve the situation of Lulufina's group. Lulufina excitedly asserted that he truly was a legendary guardian god. She told him that his sea-like mercy, which does not abandon inferior beings like those humans. She told him that she was too caught in anger, that she forgot the werewolf rule to save the weak, and she was ashamed of herself. Compared to that, the gentleness and the braveness of his heart, that is the proof of being a god. Kumakichi was really shocked and started wondering if it was being believed by them too. As he was pulling the cart of the carpentry tools, Arutina sat inside the cart, and Lulufina told her that she was being disrespectful, and she should not get too full of herself. As a result of using some time to explain it to the two of them, he finally convinced them that it was a misunderstanding, or that was how it was supposed to be. He wondered if the misunderstanding has been solved. Well, he told them that he didn't mind, and he was the one who wanted things to stay the same, and they decided to go home. Lulufina thought to herself that she understood him and that it was his temporary appearance while in this world, and she won't pursue this matter anymore. The story proceeds as Kumakichi was cutting trees with the carpentry tools he acquired. He thought to himself that the lumberjack job old Mataji had him do would help him a lot of the time like this. At this place he would finish the gathering number quickly, and the Japanese cider has almost 4 times the resistance than iron, and when used as building material in it makes houses sturdier and long-lasting. Lulufina called Kumakichi and told him that they also managed to chop them down. He placed them and told them it was quite impressive. The little girl started throwing tantrum that it was always the elder sister, and it's unfair. They told him that they want to do it too, and he replied that it was impossible for them until they became bigger. Lulufina shouted at the girls and told them to stop causing trouble for Kumakichi. To transport the acquired trees, Rutina, and Arutina are pruning them. The cheeky triplets are in charge of moving them to the cave, as those branches could all be used later on. He thought to himself that at this rate they could start construction earlier than he thought. During the evening as he entered the cave, he asked Rutina where everyone was as he couldn't see anyone else. She replied that Lulufina went to take a bath with everyone. He asked if there was a hot spring nearby and told her that he would go today too. She smiled and told him that he should also enter the bath. He told her that she was right and asked what he should do, and she smiled and asked him if she should wash his back if he didn't mind. He replied affirmatively and stated that with this body he didn't think his hands could reach his back. She started blushing and told him not to tease her. She started muttering something, and he wondered if she was feeling ill or something. She kept mumbling something with a really low voice, but he wondered if there could have been sexual harassment. Since he is a bear and all, he thought it would be fine since they are different species, but wondered if it was still no good. He guessed he should act more considerate towards an adolescent girl. Lulufina came back with the other werewolf girls, and he asked Rutina to wash his back. Everyone was shocked to hear that, and he started wondering what was wrong with the atmosphere. Lulufina caught Rutina by her arm and took her outside the cave. He wondered if he actually said something strange as he thought they had a relationship like a father and a daughter, but he guessed that was wrong. Arutina asked Kumakichi if he wanted her baby, and he got confused. He started wondering if it meant something different in this world to wash someone's back. A few days after leaves began to fall, and as they collected all the logs for construction, they commented that it was really spectacular. Kumakichi thought they might have gone too far, but they could use the extra for firewood, and today he would just appreciate their efforts. Arutina asked him what he wanted to do with this, and he replied that he was thinking of using these logs to make a new house for them all. They all got confused, and Lulufina asked if he meant to make one there for them. He replied affirmatively. They asked him if it was a proper house to live in and not a hole for wild animals, and he replied affirmatively. But he told them that in order to do that, they would all need to cooperate, and if everyone works hard, they could get a warm house faster. So with that said, they started working with the logs together with the motivated Rutina and company. First peeling the logs, they made an horizontal cut and started pushing down. If they didn't feel it off, termites might enter, so it's a must. Then they cut the logs to size. They couldn't stack them as they are, so they put a notch at both ends of the log, a saddle notch. This way 50 logs of wood sufficed to make the building. As he looked at the sky, he started wondering if winter was nearly as the days were becoming shorter, and he wanted to start quickly with the construction. After that, during the evening time, Kumakichi went to take a bath and exclaimed that it felt great, but he felt a bit sad being the only one there. When Lutina and everyone were bathing, monkeys and other creatures came to visit them. But of course, if it's a bear, they won't come near out of fear. Because he is a white bear, he wasn't sure he should be heating himself up. But wild animals usually host parasites in their bodies, and normally bears don't have that many. He started wondering if he is even actually a bear. When he grabbed the deer he hunted and got some of its ticks, they started dying, and he wondered if his body produces some toxin or something. This could be another blessing from Buddha. As he got out of the bath, he thought that all the people he is living with are girls, and now that he thinks about it, his body is at least 220 centimeters tall, but his thing is quite cute. But he thought that it's still better than a human's. He was thinking that his sexual preferences might have changed since the incarnating as a bear, but that wasn't it. Rutina has meat in all the right places and a nice butt too, so he thought it would be tough, but that's a relief in its own way. So he guessed it was all right. Even if he is a white bear, he still has small problems like this. After taking a bath, he went to the cave, and the little triplets welcomed him back and started hugging him. To him, it felt like he is a dad, as they are so cute it couldn't be helped. Lulufina commented that he sure is popular. As he went to sleep, he thought that it was a peaceful day. At the same time, some warriors were fighting the brown bear that was earlier defeated by Komakichi. They thought that it's too tough, that they couldn't barely scratch it, and called him a monster. The story proceeds forward as Komakichi was roaming in the forest collecting food, and he came across a fallen buna, which meant he found buna mushrooms. He often saw moisture-loving mushrooms on roots by mountain streams. They pair well with meat since they absorb all the umami flavor, doubling the deliciousness. He collected all of them in a basket, and of course he would get tired of eating meat, since that's all he have had since reincarnating, and today he was wandering in the forest in order to harvest mushrooms. He stated that with this Lulutina and the others would probably be happy. While he was spacing out, he harvested quite the load and thought that he should head back. He heard some rustle behind him, and as he turned around, he smelled blood. He realized that the pungent odor of those metal tools is also in the air. He was glad Lulutina and the others weren't there, as their allergy towards humans was a serious problem. He decided to confirm it himself, as he thought they might leave the cave. He thought to himself that if it gets dangerous and he couldn't run home, he would have to fight, and he would do it only if he sensed they are hostile. He sneaked from behind the bushes. He saw that the human was lying on the ground with a fatal wound in his leg, and the other girl was trying to stop the blood. He thought to himself that the wound looks bad and it might have punctured an artery. Even so, he didn't understand why they were so wary, as they don't seem to be Lulutina's pursuers. He turned around and started walking and thought that there was no need for his interference when he suddenly heard a loud roaring. He turned around and saw that it was the large brown bear that he earlier made contact with. All the humans picked up their weapons and were trying to fight him. Komekichi realized that there was no mistake, and it was the bear he fought right after reincarnating. The bear charged towards them, but the girl was able to save the wounded guy. Another guy tried to attack it with his sword and slashed its skin. That at this rate they could cut through, but there was no effect on its skin, and he attacked both of the humans with his claws. The bear approached one of the guys who was lying on the ground and started eating him. Komekichi was shocked to see that he was eating humans. The humans thought to themselves that at this rate they would get annihilated, and they had to run, but they won't make it far if they were carrying Roy, the wounded guy. One of the guys turned around and told the girl that he would stall for time and that she should run away with Roy into the bushes. She bit her lip and apologized to him and started running away when she encountered Komekichi. She was shocked to see him and exclaimed that it was another one, and not only that, it's a white bear. Komekichi thought to himself that if she had left her wounded comrade behind, as cruel as it sounds, he wouldn't have felt like saving her. He walked past her and told her that he would take the bear and she should hurry up and run. She was startled to see that the bear spoke. As the brown bear was eating the remnants of the human, Komekichi gave a body tackle to him. Komekichi called him a black bear bastard and told him that they should pick up where they left off. The story proceeds forward with a fierce battle between Komekichi and the brown bear. He knew that this was his second fight with this guy, but it wasn't a very hard fight. He decided that he would just end this quickly. But the brown bear punched him in the face, and that one actually hurt. So he realized that he was serious now, and as the brown bear was trying to attack him again, he realized that he was actually quicker at attacking than he thought. Komekichi was completely on defensive when the brown bear was attacking him with all four of his claws. He thought to himself that those were heavy blows and they hurt more than the last time, and he couldn't keep taking blows like this. He thought to himself that there has to be an opening and suddenly dashed away from the bear. He got behind the brown bear and told him that he was open on his right. He punched him on the right side of his body and stated that his right eye is scared and it looked like he could barely see. As the brown bear stood up and tried to attack him again, he again dashed away from his right side and got behind him. He decided that he would just keep going for his blind spot and bit his shoulder with his powerful jaw. Humans were surprised to see Komekichi and the brown bear fighting. The brown bear roared at him, and Komekichi commented that someone is grumpy. He stated that now it's really easy to tell where he is going. As Komekichi turned around, he saw a human lying on the ground and wondered if he missed his chance to flee. Komekichi thought to himself that if he touched his next attack, he would end up losing his life, so if he couldn't dodge, he would just throw him aside. As the brown bear charged towards him, he threw him aside and he went rolling on the ground. As Kumakichi went towards the brown bear, he realized that the brown bear ran again, and wounded beasts are usually bad, so there was a chance he would end up going for Lolita. He thought that he should clean up as soon as possible. As he turned around, the humans were standing there. The girl stated that he was not an average bear and asked if he was an elm. She stated that she had never seen a white elm before, and Kumakichi replied that he doesn't really know about that, but he doesn't think that he is an elm. He told her that he is just a bear who happens to be living around here. The girl went on her knees and started smiling and thanked the heavens. She apologized to Kumakichi for suspecting him and thanked him for saving them. She introduced herself as Joseph, the dark elf. Kumakichi thought to himself that now that he mentions it, he kinda looks like one. The dark skin and the refined looks on his face really make him look girlish, and he probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference if his voice wasn't so low. He started wondering if this was really a guy. Joseph told Kumakichi that Shiro Madara made a run for it, and they could have ended him in just a few seconds. Kumakichi asked him if Shiro Madara was the bear from before. Joseph told him that it was a monster called a giant gag bear, and there has been rumors about him killing a bunch of knights who came in to clear up evil. Kumakichi started thinking that it was him. He told Joseph that they should treat his friends first, and there should be a river nearby, so he would take him there since he should get to washing his wounds. He collected some herbs and asked Joseph if they were enough, and he replied affirmatively. Joseph apologized to him for getting him do that work, and he told him that he didn't really mind. Styptic grass is a kind of plant growing near the human village, and its sap helps stop bleeding. By washing the plant well, crushing it, then spreading it on the affected parts, it could function as emergency aid. Couldn't save the guy whose head got smashed, but the other man miraculously didn't have any life-threatening injuries. But the relief was brief. He asked Joseph if they shouldn't leave the forest and head to a doctor, and he thanked Kumakichi for his concern. But there was a reason they couldn't. He told Kumakichi that they, adventurers, get an advance payment from their patron to do this request, and if they give up on it, they would have to give the money back. The guy whose head was bandaged and was lying on the ground apologized and told everyone that this was for his sister. Joseph and the other humans told him that there was no need to apologize as this was something they all set out to do. Kumakichi told Joseph that it looked like he also had a reason. Joseph stated that he saved their lives, so he had a duty to tell him their story. Joseph and the others came from an adventurers' guild from a town far away from the forest called Almgard. They came to the forest to exterminate the evil beast known as Shiro Madara. Joseph and Kumakichi were hiding behind the bushes, and he asked Kumakichi if Shiro Madara was really going to show up with this, and Kumakichi replied affirmatively. Joseph told him that they hate each other, but they have been together for a long time, and they had escaped many hellish situations time and time again. If they ever had a problem, they always helped each other, and that's what friends are. He also said that Roy, the guy lying on the ground here, is super reserved, so he's just keeping quiet about the fact his sister's got a terrible disease. If they could get some good medicine, they could cure it. But medicine costs money, and it's something they couldn't really afford, and then they saw the request. Shiro Madara, which appeared out of nowhere, was going wild in several villages, and the usually reliable border troops in the fort didn't do a thing to help the villagers. Tired of waiting, they gathered up as much money as they could to put up a request, and they carelessly used the advance payment all up. They had no choice now, and they couldn't be forced to pay it back. Joseph also told him that they are just morons who only get their food from this business. If they bail on a single job halfway, they could never work as adventurers ever again. It's the same thing as death for them. After they told Kumakichi their story, he called Joseph out since he was about to carelessly fling himself into battle against Shiro Madara. He then offered to help them get rid of him, but first, in order to do that, he had to get their permission to do something sacrilegious. Joseph thought to himself that he would give a proper burial later for sure. The brown bear appeared in front of him, and Joseph stated that it's just as Kumakichi said that he came back. The sacrilegious act Kumakichi told them to do involved digging up their buried friend Mash and using him as bait to bring Shiro Madara out. Shiro Madara kept coming back for Mash's bowls despite being in the middle of a fight, and it's because of the strong desire for spoils that every bear has. Now bears would never give up on their game once they have a taste of it, and even during the Sankbetsu incident, which caused 7 human deaths in Hokkaido, the bear apparently kept picking at the remains until there was nothing left. Kumakichi thought to himself that they had a plan to put an end to the brown bear, and as the brown bear tried to approach the dead remains of Mash, he fell into a trap which was filled with the bamboo sticks. Joseph immediately threw fire on the brown bear and his back caught fire, but he immediately got out of the pit. Kumakichi was standing in front of him and told the brown bear to come at him now. The brown bear lowered his body and tried to headbutt him, and Kumakichi thanked him for that. Kumakichi caught him by his neck as Brown Bear started hitting Kumakichi with all 4 of his claws. He was clearly at a physical disadvantage there, so in order to get rid of it, he just had to crush his spirit, so he used all of his power to crush his neck. The brown bear was about to throw him away, but he stated that it was not going to happen, and finally he choked him to death. Kumakichi got really tired, but Shiro Madara was exterminated. A few days later, all the werewolf girls were really shocked to see the items that Kumakichi brought with them. There was oil and cooking things, sugar, salt and clothes, medical supplies, and they even have a mirror and lots of vegetables. Lulufina asked Kumakichi if he got this, and he replied that some really good people gave it to him. Joseph and the guys bought it for him using the reward money they got for beating Shiro Madara. Joseph really wanted to give him all the reward money in the beginning, but he couldn't spend money enough for us. So after he convinced him that he needs money for his adventuring, they settled on giving him some extra goods necessary for life in the forest. And they seemed like a really passionate, dutiful, and good-hearted bunch of people. The little triplets exclaimed that they loved snacks, and it was their eating time. Kumakichi realized that the little ones really liked sweets, and Lulufina told all of them that they all belonged to Kumakichi, and they could only eat those on special days. Arutina told the triplets to put the sugar pot down, and one of the triplets stated that she had been staring at the jam pot herself. She got fumbled and told them that she was not, and she would never do something like that. Kumakichi realized that all girls like sweet things. The story proceeds forward as Arutina was looking in the mirror and smiling. Lulufina told her to not just keep looking at the mirror, but help her with some things, and she replied that Lulufina should just be quiet. Arutina told her that she had to dress a bit better if she wanted Kumakichi to notice her at all. Kumakichi knows that Arutina kept that mirror just for herself, and she is really devoted to fashion. Once she received the clothes he acquired from Joseph, she turned into a sewing machine and was very focused on making new clothes. And not just off-the-rack clothes either. These are custom-made, and she would be perfect for bridal wear. Kumakichi thought that they are all very beautiful girls to begin with, and their charm only gets better when they wear more elegant clothes. Lily came to Kumakichi and told him that she couldn't choose between those 2 clothes and asked which one would be better. He was shocked to hear that, as frankly he is a polar bear now, and he never had a girlfriend in his previous life, so he couldn't really decide on something so high class. Lulufina shouted at Lily that she couldn't make Kumakichi worry like that, and she replied that she was not making him worry. She stated that if he was going to have beautiful girls serving him, it's better for him to wear nice clothes. As they started arguing, Kumakichi thought that he would make his escape now. He went outside and Lalo jumped on him and told him that she wanted to fluff. Lola and Lana too jumped on him, and he was very glad that they were all happy as he smelled something sweet and spicy. He turned around and saw that Lulufina was cooking something, and Kumakichi stated that it looks very good. She told him that it's jam stew, and she made it. As Kumakichi tasted it, he realized that she didn't just reheat the boar stew and boil it. It's jam stew, and it doesn't take much skill to make this. She took her time and stewed the ingredients and spices together. The flavoring is fish sauce, and that could basically be made using river fish. If one washes them well, takes the inwards out and salts them, they could use the sauce created at the bottom of the container. Speaking of which, they are actually using the stuff he got from Joseph, and in order for them to use those materials, they have to let it age for 6 months to a year, and they could only enjoy it now since it's done. In the last few days they had been building a house. They notched some logs and arranged them into 4 sides. Then they started building up. So now the logs used for the lower segment are heated until their surface becomes black for preservation purposes. They must be carbonized in this way or they would quickly rot. They cut out some windows for lighting and an entrance. Then they cut up a square near the center so they could make a sunken fireplace. As for the roof, he wanted to make it one-sided. It would be easier to make, and it would be harder to make mistakes. Finally, after they finished the roofing, they obtained their log cabin. Lulufina got really excited after seeing the cabin and asked if this was their house now, and Kumakichi replied that it's kinda temporary. The triplets got excited as Kumakichi told them they could sleep there today. As they entered the cabin, Arutina started crying and stated that it smelled of newly carved wood. Lulufina also started crying and asked the Kumakichi if there was anything she could do to thank him. She stated that they had been living under the stars after they lost their parents the day they were prepared to become food. They not only gave them their lives, but also their spirits back, and he completely saved them. They all bowed in front of him and told him that they had nothing to say but thank you. He helped Lulufina to stand up and told her that they are not done clawing through the work, and that it was enough. He asked her if she would help instill as this was their home now. Arutina denied and stated that this wasn't just theirs, but this was both his and theirs. He thought that she was as sweet as honey girl, and he couldn't bear all these tears. Anyways, he told them that the house wasn't quite done yet and asked them if they could help him make it still. They all replied affirmatively. During night times, they lit a fire in the center of the floor and were preparing some food. Lola stated that it was so warm and now the wind won't make them go achoo achoo. After that, they all worked together to finish the exterior walls. They filled the openings between the logs with earth and clay and prevented insects and wind from coming in. To plug up the roof, they nailed bark down to cover the gaps. Then finally, they installed the fireplace and fulfilled their general goal. Wood usually has to take years to dry up or it won't be fit for construction as wood changes when it loses moisture after being cut down. Kumekiche thought to himself that one day this house would warp and break down. Well, it should be enough to survive the winter though. When he saw Lulutina's face, he felt like he made the right choice. Lulutina gave him a bowl and told him that they are having mushroom stew today and it's full of vegetables. He stated that this was good. She told him that there is still a lot, so he could have as much as he liked. Arutina asked for another bowl and she told her to hold back a bit. Komakichi stated that it's really good and it would make anyone want seconds, and Arutina agreed with him. After eating the food, they went to sleep and they all slept well that night. Kumakichi got out of the wooden cabin and looked at the sky and stated that it was nice weather. He stated that he should finish this before everyone wakes up, and as he was going inside the forest, Arutina asked him where he was going and he got really shocked. He told her that he wanted to go see how the trap he set was doing. She asked him if she could come along and he replied affirmatively. He thought to himself that this girl is a lot more quiet than the other sisters and she's the quickest and most skilled among them. As they were walking, he thought that she could probably catch prey all on her own one day. He started wondering if she was just 10 years old. Her two elder sisters are a lot older than her, but her lines look very good. He closed his eyes and started wondering what he was even thinking. Arutina asked him what happened, and he replied that it was nothing, and they should just go as he hoped to get some very good food. And just when they crossed the roof barrier, they caught two weasels. She asked him if he was okay with martens and weasels, and he replied that the flesh of omnivorous animals has a bad smell. Compared to these critters, squirrels that eat only fruits and nuts taste much better. If they weren't having food problems, eating omnivorous animals wouldn't be his first choice. After reaching their home, they ground the bones of the squirrels they brought back and made some meatball stew. Then on top of that, they baked some bread. He was impressed that they managed to make something this good after making a random stone oven. By the way, ever since Lilitina learned how to make bread, she stopped eating meat every morning, and she looks very elegant when she drinks her tea. He thought to himself there, to Lilitina is actually kinda different from the others, as she always had that elegant feel around her, but he preferred the glutton Lulufina. They finished making their precious log cabin, so he relaxed up a bit. He allowed the Lulufina to take the three girls to forage for mushrooms without being very careful. As he and Arutina were waiting for them, she stated that Lulufina got late. Kumakichi replied that she would come back soon as she was probably just fooling around, but time passed and Lulufina didn't come back. As Kumakichi was about to go and look for her, the triplets came running with tears in their eyes and hugged him. He asked them what was wrong, and they replied that Lulufina got taken by bad humans. The story proceeds forward in Wild Boar Fort. One of the guards told Commander Hardwin that they had captured the demi-human girl. He laughed and stated that the infamous bearable-to girl must be a lively one, and he was sure eating her up would be entertaining. As he was lying with the two naked girls in his bed, the guard told him that he would have her frisked and brought before him, and he replied that there was no need as he would leave the main course for later. He licked the girl's cheek and stated that for now he would have some fun with them. He hoped that they were all grateful that he brought them here from their village. He also stated that he could promise them a life without discomfort as long as they give him respect and obedience he deserves, and he could do a few favors for their families too. He thought to himself that they were nothing more than docile cattle, and he would pass them off to a slaver as soon as he was bored with them, just like that werewolf girl. At the same time, Lulufina was being tortured by two men in a certain dark room. They told her to give it up already. The bald man stated that normally even an adult man would cry out at least once after this much pain, and asked if the daughter of a chieftain is cut from a different cloth. He stated that he was a pretty little thing, and the boss said they couldn't have their way with her. The man with the mask approached her, and the bald man told him that they were supposed to rub her up and make sure she is in pain and nothing more. He also told him that if he tried anything else, who knows what kind of punishment that Demi Lover had Hardwin would give him. The man with the mask stated that he didn't think he would be this much of a sussy when he saw what a huge guy he was. He told him that Lord Hardwin was busy with the kidnapped girls, and he would leave this Demi for tomorrow, so if they were to have a small tasting session, no one would ever know. Lulafina told him not to come any closer or he would regret it. The man with the mask told her that she was in a fort's underground dungeon and she could scream and cry all she liked, but no one would mind her. Although if she promised to be a good girl, he might put away these scary tools. And the last time he shoved this in some bitch from behind, she couldn't hold back her tears while apologizing, but there was no mercy. He caught her by her head and told her that he wanted complete obedience from the beginning, and she was not going to half-ass her way out of it. Lulafina started crying and stated that if her father was there, he would squeeze his puny fortress. He called her a dumbass and told her that he knew that much that werewolf soldiers are strong. He told her that he knew it all too well and removed his mask and stated that he had already had a taste of it. A lot of his teeth and his nose were missing from his face, and his face was completely scared. He told her that they fought one-on-one and the Barber tribe's warriors are fierce and brave, but even God won't forgive their sins no matter how hard they prayed. The sin of denying him the finishing blow. He told her that one might be a respected warrior, but only until the war ends, and asked her what happens when one comes home from battle. He told her that his wife left him for his subordinate and took the kid along with her. But not before she called him a fucking monster. He didn't ask to go out hunting for demi-humans, he just did his part as a humble Rome's believer. The bald man asked him to stop it, as it was enough already. Lulafina thought to herself that this man was just like her, a victim of the war. He came close to her and asked her if she had the fucking look of pity on her. He commented that it was rich and told her that he had decided that he would torment every fiber of her body. By the time the sun rises, she won't be able to think of anything but him, and he would carve the meaning of true pain into her very being. He told her to prepare herself as no one could stop him once he gets going like this. The bald man tried to stop, hit, and told him that they had orders to make this girl fess up where the rest of her family is and not to break her. He told him not to do anything that would spoil the mood for the boss and asked if he had any idea what kind of punishment he would give them. The masked men suddenly turned around and shoved the crowbar inside the bald man's head. He shouted at him to shut up and not order him around. He stated that his wounds were crying out for the blood of this demi-human. Suddenly he heard a loud voice and started wondering what that was. A little while back, 2 guards on the front door were discussing that they didn't think that the demi-human girl would be so pretty. They bet the boss was already having fun with her, and they were so jealous of him. They thought that if they catch other demi-humans, they could get at least one for themselves. They thought that they should head out and do a quick search as Shiro Madara wasn't around anymore either. Suddenly they also heard some noise and started wondering where it came from. Komakichi attacked both of them with surprise, and they were shocked to see that it was a bear. He broke the wooden cabin inside which the other knights and guards were having food. He stated that to kidnap a fair maiden, it's an act most wicked and cowardly. Komakichi had arrived to bring down upon them the justice of the heavens. One of the guards called him a bastard and asked if he knew that this was the Wild Boar Fort ruled by Lord Hardwin. Komakichi replied that he was well aware, while the guards shouted that it was an ambush, and they were under attack while they were pierced by arrows. Joseph asked Komakichi if he had any plan at all as he just charged in. Komakichi denied and told him that he would just send everyone in his way flying. He thanked Joseph for shooting in the way, but told him that he didn't have to do anything else, and Joseph replied that he didn't want him to get captured. He told him that he would rather stay as they owe their lives to him, and his wife is like a sister to them, so they couldn't leave her behind. He also stated that he didn't care if Hardwin is the bastard of some Margrave, as he was just a tyrant, and it's time to make this world a better place. One of the guards tried to attack Komakichi with his sword, but he realized that his sword wasn't cutting, and Komakichi killed him and stated that his puny sword couldn't hurt him. He killed the rest of the guards who tried to surround him and attack him. One of the guards entered Hardwin's room and asked for permission to report. He asked the guard what was happening and what was all this racket about. He replied that there were intruders and they already broke through their defenses and were fighting. Hardwin was shocked to hear that and wondered what kind of fool they were and ordered him to just kill them already and that they should not let them enter this room. Kumakichi came inside the room shouting Lolitina's name and broke the front gate. As Kumakichi entered the room, he was attacked by a guard with his flail. Kumakichi dodged it and exclaimed that it was close. The guard called him a fucking bear and asked where he thought he had walked into, as this fort is under the protection of Rome's honorable knights. He told him not to think that the heavens would forgive his transgressions upon these grounds. Kumakichi told him that it was enough yapping and asked him to give Lolitina back. The guard realized that he was an elm and stated that these filthy beasts always stick together. He told him that if he wanted his girl back, he must defeat him, the right-hand man of Lord Hardwin, Alfonso, the Meteor Star. As the guard swung his flail at Kumakichi, he guarded with both of his hands. It hurts, but he must endure. He thought that Lolita must have endured much worse since being captured. Kumakichi roared and killed the guard in his single punch. He asked the other naked girls in the room where Lolita was, and they couldn't reply. Joseph pointed at Hardwin and told him that it was their boss. Hardwin shouted at them and asked who the hell they were and that he was the son of a Margrave. Joseph pointed the arrow at him and told him that he knows that he had committed a bunch of heinous acts while hiding behind his position and his that will fulfill the wishes of a few dozen nearby villages. Hardware ran and got a box and gave it to Kumakichi and told him that he could take all the girls and all the money in this lockbox in exchange for leaving him alive. He asked if he was an elm and requested as he was too young to die. Joseph asked if he was just going to beg for his life when his time is up after all his selfish indulgences. He told Kumakichi not to even dirty his paws with this maggot and that he would put an end to this. Kumakichi asked Joseph to wait. He stated that if Hardwin is the commander of this fort, then he should know where he have hid that girl that he kidnapped today around noontime. Kumakichi scared him, and he replied that the dark-haired girl is in the dungeons, underground. He stated that he told him what he wanted so he would have to spare his life, and Kumakichi scarred his face with his paws and told him that only his life would be saved. Joseph told him that they should hurry up and find his wife, and he asked Joseph to take the other kidnapped girls and help escape them first. He told him that he would be fine on his own and he should not worry. Kumakichi also stated that if they leave those girls on their own, who knows what the other soldiers in the fort would do to them, and that he is the only one who could protect them. As he left, he told Joseph that when all this is over, drinks are on him. Kumakichi went underground towards the dungeons and started wondering if someone started a fire somewhere as he could feel a burnt smell. He started shouting Lolitina's name, but suddenly got his stench and dashed towards her. He broke inside the room where the masked man asked him who the fuck he was and if he was gonna get in his way too. He tried to attack Kumakichi with his crowbar, but Kumakichi punched him and his face got smashed between his punch and the wall. Kumakichi broke the chains of Lolita and hugged her. He apologized to her for all the bruises she have and Lolita started crying in his arms. Kumakichi told her that everything was fine and they should go home now. After 3 days since Lolitina's rescue, Kumakichi was relaxing on a log of wood. Joseph approached him and Kumakichi apologized to him for making him come all the way here, and he replied that he should not worry about it. He stated that gathering information on a fort is nothing, especially if he was asking, and Kumakichi thought that Joseph is such a good guy and asked what did he find out. Afraid that news of the defeat would get out, his report to the Margrave said that the fort burned down from a fire accident. Right now, Hardwin is filling up his ranks with anyone who cares to join in preparation of a hunt in the mountains. Since he barely escaped with his life, he thought that would be end of it, but it looks like it won't be that simple. The fact that Lolita was cleared from his captivity is a big political blender too. There are still many factions of Lolita's tribe who don't give a damn about the Lord's wishes and keep resisting. He is surely afraid of the ramifications, even if simple rumors start circulating about a powerful entity that some might even call a guardian spirit and how it appeared in the forest that is set to be hiding the werewolves' country. He stated that, for better or worse at least, Hardwin is keeping his mouth shut so the Lord's main army isn't making any moves, but he's still gathered a few hundred men already, and from that he could tell they are about 500 strong. What's worse is that if this hunt starts, he would surely call upon every capable hunter nearby for enough money. He would surely find scum who would be able to find a path to where he lives. And he was pretty sure that living in a place only a few days away from a nearby village won't be possible anymore. Kumakichi asked Joseph what did he think, and how long would it take for Hardwind to finish his drafting. He replied that his wounds aren't that deep, so it might take 7 days for recovery, then 7 additional days until he collects the necessary supplies. So about half a month overall. To put it another way, the question is, if he went deeper into the forest, how far away could he get in that time? Kumakichi told Joseph that he didn't intend to run away. He told him that in half a month he could make preparations to drive them away, and he was sure that he could take 500 or 600 soldiers on even by himself. Joseph asked Kumakichi not to be such a stranger, as if that's what he intended to do, he was behind him. Joseph stated that if it would be a skirmish in the forest and the mountains, he was sure a lone dark elf won't drag him down much. Kumakichi told him that if he kept following his ass around, he would find himself 6 feet under in no time. He asserted that there was no need for him to risk his life for a fool like him, as he got a hefty amount of money from the Adventurers Guild back when they hunted down Shiro Madara. Joseph further asserted him not to be such a stranger. If he feared for his home life so much, he wouldn't have gone to the fort with him in the first place, but he was enamored by his manliness. Joseph asserted that when these feelings bloom among men, putting their life on the line is the obvious thing to do. Kumakichi asked him what was with all this feeling stuff, as he was making him embarrassed, and asked if he really asked him to put his ass on the line for him, could he actually do it. Joseph spanked his ass and told him that it ain't the prettiest ass around, but it's all his, anytime he wants. Joseph asked Kumakichi if that was a tear in his eyes, and he further asked what about him. Kumakichi thought to himself that although Joseph is a demi-human, a dark elf, other than the long years, he looks exactly like a human to him. He is 100% filthy bear covered in fur. He doesn't even know how he could use a bear's organs to make sounds and words that people understand. But this guy believes in him. There is a man before him who says he would risk his life for me, and he was beyond words. They both bumped their fists and decided to do this. After that, Kumakichi went back to their log cabin as Lolita was preparing food. Lolita welcomed Kumakichi and told him that dinner would be ready soon. Lulafina apologized to Lolita and hoped that it's not much trouble as starting tomorrow if she would take care of things. Lolita asked her why doesn't she just let them manage things a bit, as she and Al both learned how to cook from mother. Al started pushing her and told her to leave things to them and rest. The little triplets gave her a blanket and forced her into sleep. Al commented that she is like a caterpillar. Kumakichi thought to himself that 3 days have passed and Lulafina is still trying to keep a tough act so her sisters won't worry too much. She no doubt feels a strong responsibility to protect her sisters in their father's stead. Al asked Kumakichi what happened, and he replied that it was nothing. He was just spacing out from hunger. Lolita apologized and told him that she would be finished soon. He gave food in a bowl to Kumakichi and asked him to eat to his heart's content. To help him and Lulafina recover, today's menu was all about fried food. Lolita told him that she would keep making more and more, so no need to hold back for him, and asked him to take as much as he would like. The triplets also ate the food and stated that the crispiness of the coating and juiciness of the meat mixes perfectly, and they could eat this all day. Lulafina also praised her that it was so delicious that she really outdid herself. After a cozy dinner, there is something that werewolves must always do, and that is brushing their teeth. Their teeth are important to werewolves, and they make toothbrushes from a sterile branch, and brush their teeth after every meal with great care, almost to the point of obsession. Kumakichi also began brushing his teeth after the girls taught him to do so, and having tooth decays was such a pain. Lauro told Kumakichi that she would brush his teeth for him. Kumakichi knew that Lauro was trying to be nice, but he really shouldn't allow her to stick that stick full of drool in his mouth. He was really not into that thing, and it's like some role play about a mother pampering her child, and he was so not into that. Arutina told Lauro that she was making Kumakichi feel uncomfortable, and asked her how about she paid more attention while brushing her own teeth instead. Lauro asked Arutina if she was jealous and asked if she knew that Kumakichi would marry Lauro. Lulafina got really shocked after hearing that, and Arutina stated that she doesn't make any sense. Kumakichi started wondering what was going on as everyone started looking at him. Anyways, Lauro stated that Kumakichi's fangs belongs to her and stick her toothbrush inside his mouth. Kumakichi thought to himself that it's all wet and sloppy, and those looks that the girls were giving him were scary, and decided to wait for the storm to pass. As he was going outside the cabin, he heard someone saying pervert, and he stated that he is not a pervert and not a pedobeer. As he was resting outside, Lulafina approached him. He asked her what was wrong, and she told him that it was like he was not there in spirit, and he stated that she saw through him. She told him that it's easier to see through him than he thinks, as his face clearly shows when he is deep in thought. He told her that the humans are coming to forest. To himself that they take great pride in who they are, and there was no way they would run away even if he told them to. But he didn't want to put them in harm's way either. Lulafina told him that he was doing it again. He fell silent and started pondering something. She told him that there was something she always wanted to ask and asked him why he was going so far for their sakes. Note to himself that it was because at first it was on a whim. He just had to lend a helping hand to these troubled girls, and after a while it just seemed obvious that he would spend his time with them. He realized that it was just an excuse. He was born as a polar bear, and being all alone in a forest, he felt lonely. He felt like he would lose his humanity if he was left alone. The fact that he was needed by Lulafina and the girls is what kept him feeling like he was not just a beast, but Kumakichida Kumakichi, a sentient being. He replied to her that it was because he needed her, and that's all there is to it. She smiled and asserted to him that it meant he was already part of the family. All the other werewolf girls came out of the cabin and hugged Kumakichi. Lulafina told Kumakichi not to tell them to run as they would take part in the fight. Arutina and Lilitina also stated that they will help out any way they could and they would fight together. The triplets also stated that they were gonna fight too. Lulafina asked Kumakichi if he was feeling better now, and he replied affirmatively. He stated that he feels like he has 1,000,000 soldiers behind him. At the same time in his fort, Hardwin was getting anxious and stated that it hurt so much that he couldn't sleep and wondered why this had to happen to him. He angrily asserted that the polar bear was not getting away. He won't just simply kill him. He would have him quartered and desecrate his corpse right in front of those demi-humans. A guard came running to his room while shouting his name, and he stated that he told everyone to keep out. Suddenly he heard someone saying that he was coming through, and he hallucinated a lion in front of him and closed his eyes and begged to not eat him. As he opened his eyes, he realized that he was not being eaten. A certain man stated that he wouldn't be able to force a pig like him down his throat. Hardwin addressed him as Sir Jiam, and he stated that he was at his service, as he decreed. The story proceeds forward as a guard from the Hardwin's party was running away from something in the forest. He didn't hear of this and stated that this was not, but they told him as it isn't a simple beast hunt. His foot got stuck in a rope and he fell on the ground. He got pierced by these spikes on the ground at various places and stated that it was such a lame trip. Kumakichi approached him and he got really scared after seeing him and started shouting. The month has passed since Lulafina's rescue, and Hardwin's soldiers formed a beast subjugation party and headed to the forest entrance. As they were roaming in the forest, Kumakichi asked Joseph how was it, and he replied that everything was fine over there. He told him that those guys just think this is a beast subjugation, so they are unprepared and it's funny when they fall in the traps. He asked the Kumakichi what about there, and he also replied affirmatively. He thought to himself that they may seem puny compared to Hardwin's troops, but they have prepared plenty to fight them. Joseph has been monitoring the castle's supply movement and Lulafina, and the girls have been preparing traps. Joseph asked him how were the lady and the girls doing, and Kumakichi replied that they were waiting in the forest as they have no match in there. Joseph stated that when this battle is over, he would like to see that proud lady. Joseph told him that he hadn't paid respects to her, and Kumakichi told him that she has beautiful black eyes and hair. Joseph stated that he doesn't know how it is with the Elm tribe, but his bride must be pretty hairy, and Kumakichi thought that Joseph had the wrong idea about Lulafina. Kumakichi told him that it's not important right now, and they have to strike while they are off guard, as the priority now are the local hunters. Joseph told him that he doesn't know what Hardwin is so afraid of, but he won't burn his fortress in order to lure him and kill him. Kumakichi asked him if he won't burn the forest later, and he replied affirmatively that he won't and he should not worry. He told Kumakichi that if fire went out of control, not only the forest and the mountain, but a lot of territories would be involved, including Hardwin's territory. Coldridge and his head would roll on the ground. That's why the troops are dispersed and gradually surrounding the area. Suddenly they heard some noise and realized that they are here. At the same time, some of the Hardwin's soldiers were roaming in the forest and stated that there was no road ahead. One of the soldiers stated that it's just one beast, and to gather this many soldiers, he wondered what Hardwin was thinking. He told the other soldiers to be patient as there is an open area a little further, and Kumakichi suddenly attacked him and killed him with his paw. He started attacking them one by one while Joseph was providing him support from behind with his arrows. The archers started shooting Komakichi with their arrows, and he started running away from them. One of the soldiers got excited that he couldn't deal with their troops and asked the soldiers to pull out their spears and attack him. Komakichi thought to himself that they were fools and they didn't know that. He slowed down to lure them out. As the troops tried to approach him, they fell in a pit filled with spikes. The other soldiers were shocked to see that it was a trap and to think the beast could prepare a trap. Huma suddenly got behind them and pushed them also inside the pit. After that, Joseph praised him and told him that he defeated them easily, and he thought that it would be best to be careful from now on. Komakichi asked him why, and he replied that Hadwin has a sorcerer's platoon within his troops, and that guy is surely desperate. Human thought that it's fantastic, and even if he's strong, he might get hurt if they use some unknown magic on him. Joseph told him that it's not a problem as they are not high-ranked sorcerers. Those guys are only good on water magic anyway. If they know beforehand how they attack, they won't be a threat and they shoot water like arrows or freeze their opponents. Joseph also told him that he heard about a terrific man. Joseph told Komakichi that Coleridge Margrave's 1st Division Army famous General Delton battled alongside with a man called Gulam who was very powerful. Now that man is helping Hardwin and he's not that great of a tactician, but he is hella strong, and rumors say that he has Leo's tribe's blood. Komakichi thought to himself that if Joseph says so, then this night guy couldn't be underestimated. He asked Joseph what a Leos is, and he replied that Leos are demi-human, said to be descendants of lions. They have a lion faces and orc-like strength, and they are super strong. Thanks for watching it, guys. Smash that subscribe button like it's your morning alarm clock.